This is one of my favourite spots, and it's a place that I've not been to for a couple of months, to be honest. Not since these beautiful beech trees first started coming into leaf. This is Holborn Hill Plantation, and I do particularly love this spot. Unfortunately, a lot of these beautiful beech trees are earmarked for felling at some time. I thought they would have been gone last year, but they're still here. Although, for how long is anybody's guess. Today, because of the warm weather and the continuation of the warm weather, although we've lost the near 40-degree heat of yesterday and the day before, I've still come to somewhere where it's shaded today because it is still very warm. It's lovely. Just going to see what there is on the trees, a bit of trunk hunting, which I haven't done for a while. We'll see if we can turn anything up. Today is really nice. Say we've lost that heat. It has actually clouded up now looking at it. There's a covering of clouds, but it remains bright. It is becoming fresher. There's a lovely breeze today. The breeze was here yesterday, but it was just continual blowing of hot air. Today is much more bearable. I've moved from Holborn Hill Plantation to another beech plantation which runs on from Holborn Hill Plantation, and this is Hangar Hill Plantation. I presume that's where they did hang them years ago, but no hangings today, thank goodness. But there's nothing on these beech trees. I've had a couple of robber flies, and that's it on the trees, on the trunks. There's absolutely nothing of that at all. There's a few butterflies as you wander around, a few gatekeepers and an odd ringlet, but so far it's just a fruitless but very enjoyable walk. The species I was really hoping to find, and it was always a long shot, and I'll have to resort to the use of photos until we finally come across this little beast in the flesh, so to speak, and it's a leafhopper, and it's Ledra aurita. Now, it always reminds me of Mickey Mouse, and I think for obvious reasons, but it's the most remarkable thing. It's a decent size as well. It's a good sort of inch or 2.5 centimetres or 25 millimetres in pre-decimalised money, but it is a cracking little hopper. I say little, it is massive compared to most leaf hoppers. And later in the year, it often develops a covering of algae as well, as do the trunks of beech trees. Now, the reason why I've come to look for Ledra on these beech trees is because it stands out quite easily on the smooth bark of these trees, and it's obvious by its shape. It can look like the many sort of scars that you do get on beeches, but it always rests usually either face up or face down, and it's just an unusual shape, and that's usually how we've always found it, Dillis and myself. But it's a fabulous thing, it really is. Most people usually encounter it at MV Light, and there's been a couple of records recently, one from Attenborough and one from just over the border into Derbyshire in Long Eaton. We first had it at Light in Sherwood Forest Country Park a number of years ago, but then all our other sightings have been of adults found on the trunks of trees. But today, at the moment, I've not found it. But say it is a long shot. It always is a long shot looking for something like Ledra. But Ledra is a species that can turn up anywhere. It's equally as likely, probably, in rural areas as it is in urban areas. So never rule it out. And if something really weird lands on your ground sheet while you're moth trapping, chances are it's little old Ledra. I don't usually care for July that much, never have. It always sort of marks the end of a lot of the invert stuff, and certainly I know that applies from a coleopterist point of view. There's not so much about in the latter part of the summer. Once Ragonitia fulva starts to appear, you know you're limited in terms of coleoptera, which is why I like to diversify and cover all other orders, because it keeps that interest going 12 months of the year. But one of the reasons I don't like July tends to be a scruffy month. You've had the beauty of April and especially May. There isn't a month to beat May. June's not too bad. June's a sort of turning point, really. But without a doubt, there isn't a month to beat May for the foliage and vegetation in the UK. And once you get to July, your grass is already flowered and it's starting to go like this and die. The roadside verges start to become scruffy. But I've never seen vegetation how it is now. We've had virtually no rain for weeks and weeks, really, in Nottinghamshire. And I can remember the drought of '76. And to be honest, I think this dry spell that we're experiencing now is worse than then. It might not be yet in terms of the reservoirs being low and all that, but that not be far away unless we get a significant amount of rainfall. But personally, I've not seen wheat in this state. All this field, there's no green on any of the plants here. They might as well combine it. The grain size is going to be small without a doubt. Let's just separate the wheat from the chaff. And that grain is very small. I don't think any amount of moisture now is going to make that grain swell, because the plant's dead. The plant's not going to take up any moisture. Unless the seeds can absorb moisture, the price of your bread will go up, no doubt, because there'll be very little money to be made in wheat prices by the looks of this. But the state of this field is very similar to the surrounding margins of this field. The grass is dead. There's a tiny little bit of green in it, but it's just drying up. There's just no water. It's absolutely incredible. And because of all this, because of the dryness, there is very little in the way of invertebrate activity. Nothing on the tree trunks as we've been walking around, and I've looked under a couple of logs and there's very little under those. And that's because of the dryness. Any soil dwelling inverts have gone down into the soil to try and find a little bit of moisture. There's just nothing about. But all this dryness, it's going to affect a lot of butterflies and a lot of moths, because the food plants, the larval food plants, aren't going to be there for very long for many species, unless we get some much needed rain. And that doesn't look as though it's on the cards for this part of the UK anytime soon. But it's time to have a steady walk back to the car, I think. A rather disappointing day really, but I suppose that's what a very dry July day can often bring. Not the ideal conditions today for invertebrates. We definitely need some rain.